We are going to go over stem and leaf cuttings today. So I have a few plants here. These are my stock plants. What I normally do is after our spring plant sale, I'll keep a few that looked good, or I have some that we just use from Plant ID and they're left over, and I just take care of them throughout the years. So we have a purple wandering Jew, or wandering Jew, because I do have some green sprigs in there. I've had this basket for a few years now, and every year I want to sell wandering Jews. I come to this basket and I take cuttings of it, and that's how we make more to sell in our spring plant sale. I've also got Echeveria, or hens and chicks. So this is a really popular one now, especially in your succulents. So this one we're going to do probably a leaf cutting. You can do a stem cutting. This is one that was left over from last year, and I'll use it as a stock plant to make more for this year. And then I also have jade plant, which is another succulent really popular as a house plant. And this one I can use as leaf cuttings. So these are some that just kind of snapped off, and we'll use them today. The last plant we have is spider plant. So spider plants are really easy to propagate. So they have these plantlets coming off of these shoots. So these are just like baby plants that are already forming and ready for you to make more of. So my first step in all of this is to gather my materials. So I have my plant materials, my stock plants. I also have containers, and I've went ahead and moistened the soil. It's my preference to go ahead and just mix it all up with water. That way I know that there's an even amount of media and of moisture. So the media, it looks like soil, but really it's not. It's a soulless media. It contains vermiculite, perlite, bark, peat moss, and it's just finely ground up, and that's what our plants are going to grow roots in. And I have a pair of pruning shears so that I can cut our leaf and stem cuttings. And then I also have a rooting hormone. This is a dip and grow. So once we take our cutting, we can dip it in this. That's going to help speed up root development. And I also have some plastic wrap. Okay, so we're going to start with the leaf cutting. So this is off of my Wandering Jew, and we talked a little bit about preformed roots. So if you'll look here, you see that there's adventitious roots growing off of that stem. So these Wandering Jews have a will to survive. So there's actually one in this spider plant. They were close together outside. This little piece of spider plant started growing roots in this pot, and now you could take that one out and have more of it. So it's already trying to propagate itself. Okay, so whenever you use a stem, you want to use a 3 to 4 inch section. So if I look here, this is pretty close to that. I can trim off this bottom. It has a little bit of brown there. Grab a different pair. Okay, so I'm just going to trim off that bottom. Another thing I'm going to do is remove those bottom leaves, because we do not need those in the soil. Plus, removing these leaves is going to add some wounds, and that's going to help encourage the plant to grow some roots as well. Okay, I'll just do one more. And since these already have some preformed roots, it's going to make it go a little bit quicker. All right, I have it. I dip it in my rooting hormone. Tap, tap, tap. And then I place it in my rooting medium. Okay, so from there, I didn't have any fungicide. I could do the fungicide just to help prevent rot and diseases. But like I said, Wandering Jew has a will to survive. Now I can wrap it in this plastic wrap. This is just, regular saran wrap like from your kitchen. I can do this, and that's going to help hold in some moisture. Or I can just put it inside in a warm area away from direct sunlight, and it'll be just fine. So again, putting that saran wrap just is going to help retain moisture in that cutting. Okay, so that was the Wandering Jew. The next one I'm going to show you is a leaf cutting, and I'll do a couple of these to show you. So I'm going to pick out a healthy leaf. Okay, so here's one. I think it looks good. I'm going to cut it off as close to the stem as I can. Now, on this, it's important to remember the top and bottom. When we talked about leaf anatomy, we talked about the midrib, which is that large center vein that runs down the middle. On jade plant, I can't really see that, but I know it's there. So I'm going to make a small incision. It's almost like a paper cut. So don't think about cutting through it. Think about just giving it a little tiny paper cut. And what that's going to do is wound it. And again, wounding it is going to signal that plant to form a callus and start growing new cells. And it's going to help it grow roots. So I put that wound there. I dip it in my rooting hormone to help speed up roots. And then I just place it in my pot with the top up. Okay, so make sure wherever you cut it, that's what is pressing into the soil or the media. All right, to show you another example of that, I can come over here to this hens and chicks. Again, I'm going to pick a healthy leaf, cut it as close to the stem as I can. On this one, again, I can't see the midrib. I know it's there. I make a slight incision, dip it in my rooting hormone, and then I place it into the media. So it's going to take those leaf cuttings just a little bit longer to do than it would take a stem cutting, especially on that wandering Jew. But it works really good. And if you only have like a small stock plant, but you have plenty of leaves on it, that can be a quick way to get more of those plants. Okay, so I told you I would show you the spider plant. That one just fell right off. Okay, so I would just take that shoot and then snip it off. You can dip this in rooting hormone. I typically don't. There are some plants you just really don't have to necessarily. So if you don't have this stuff at home, you can make do without some of it. So I'm just going to put this in here, but I'm not going to keep it there. I take that where the roots would start to form, and I place it in there and make sure it's covered up with soil. And eventually this is going to grow into this. And that's how we got these spider plants, is by planting them just like this. Cutting off those little plantlets, coming off the shoots, and then putting it in media. So again, this is really simple. If you're doing this at home and you don't have all these materials, you can get by without some of it. Rooting hormone, I'm not going to expect you to go online and order that. Purple wandering Jew and other things can grow pretty well without it. It's just from a grower standpoint, if we're trying to sell it, we want to use that rooting hormone because the faster we can do it and the healthier the plant is, the better, because we're trying to sell these plants. For you, if you're just doing it at home, you're just trying to make more, you're just trying to propagate it. So you can make do without the rooting hormone. The biggest thing you need is the container, media, and just so you know, for a stem cutting, water works just as good as media on some plants. If you've ever seen someone take a cutting off of a plant and stick it in a vase of water or a jar of water, and then it starts to form roots, that is a stem cutting. So that can work too. And then the plant. So if you have that, or if you don't have pruning shears, you probably have scissors at home. So you can use that. So just make do with what you have, try it out. What's there to lose?